review the Keith Moon album, Two Sides of the Moon. It was released in 1975 and produced by Keith Moons, Mal Evans, Skip Taylor, John Stormick, and Steve Cropper. So this is an album that I think regularly gets considered one of the worst albums of like all time. That's kind of one of the first reasons I bought it, really, is because I was curious to hear it and I was a big Keith Moon fan. I saw pretty recently Andy Edwards was talking about it on I can't remember what the video was called, something about, I think, like the worst albums of all time, or are they really the worst albums of all time or something. And he kind of defended it, was saying that, yeah, it has really good players on it, and Keith's, very charismatic frontman who really doesn't have that bad of a voice. And I tend to agree with his assessment. I think he was a little, nicer to Keith's voice than I would be. But at the same time, I don't think he's quite as bad as some people or some people would say, and I think that there are definitely songs on here where he does a really good job. So I have two versions of this. I have this vinyl copy that I picked up at the record store a few years ago for pretty cheap, and then I have a CD copy that has 2 discs and a ton of bonus tracks on it. And there's some pretty good bonus tracks on here. There's 3 that I would say are amongst the best songs that Keith did solo. But there's a lot of stuff, especially on the second disc, that are just alternate takes, and they really just kind of are the same versions of songs that are on the album with worse vocal takes. So yeah, the vocals that make it on the album aren't that bad, but some of these alternate takes, you can really just hear him kind of having a hard time. But yeah, I kind of wonder how much of that was them just kind of partying and him being messed up when he went and did the vocals. The album opens with Crazy Like a Fox, which was written by Al Staley, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these last names. I think it's a fun opening track. Keith does good with the vocal because on all the kind of sillier tracks, which this is one, and he gets to do his kind of yell singing, he does that pretty well. I think it's a good opener, and it was kind of a smart thing, really, I think, to open with one of these kind of funnier songs. Second track is Solid Gold by Nicky Barclay, and it's kind of another one of those ones, another fun song. This one I think Keith's just great on, he's doing his kind of posh voice in parts, and then he's doing his kind of other voices and stuff. So I feel like his strength as a vocalist is when he gets to kind of play these characters and kind of put on a performance like this. So Solid Gold I really like. I think the first 2 tracks are pretty good. Then you get into third track, Don't Worry Baby, Beach Boys cover, and I believe it was Keith's favorite song. And yeah, it's not horrible. There's a single version of it that is really bad. He tries to sing the whole thing in this falsetto, and he just can't do it. This version he tries to sing more normal, so his voice sounds better than when he's trying to do the falsetto thing, but still just not quite when he does these, I don't know, slower songs, and you can kind of compare them to the other versions. It kind of suffers a little bit, but I still don't think it's really horrible. Just not really one of the highlights. Not really crazy about all the backing vocals and kind of arranging things they did with the song, but it's still not horrible. Fourth track, One Night Stand by Dennis Lardon. This one's kind of a country-ish song. I like it a lot. I think Keith sounds good on it. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. Pretty catchy song. I have a Who cover, The Kids Are Alright. And this one, again, it's not as good as the original. Keith kind of, another one where I think vocally he doesn't come off the best, but it's still not horrible. There's kind of a cool drum solo on it, which I think is Keith. There's 2 drummers on every song that Keith plays on, and I'm not sure why he didn't just play drums on this. Well, I guess it's because he considered that his actual job, and this I think was supposed to be fun for him, so he just wanted to sing. But I think the album would have been better if he had just drummed more. But yeah, it's got a cool drum solo. Not a horrible version of it, but not a highlight for me. 6th track, Move Over Miss L, is a John Lennon song. It's fun. It's another one of those where Keith gets to kind of scream and do kind of one of his over-the-top performances that he does really well at. So I think this one's pretty good. The 7th track, Teenage Idol by Jack Lewis, is another one I like a lot. It's another kind of slower song. I think it's one of Keith's better vocals on one of these songs, and I think it's a catchy song. It's got some cool guitar from Dick Dale. So that's a highlight for me. The 8th track, Backdoor Sally, is by John Masur-Calco. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to say that. This song kind of reminds me of Move Over Miss L a little bit. It's kind of in the similar vein. Keith gets to do kind of a similar over-the-top vocal performance, and he does it very well. So that one I enjoy. The ninth track, In My Life, Beatles cover, and this one is kind of, I think, the one that doesn't work the most for me on here, other than maybe Don't Worry Baby. It's kind of sappy string arrangement and backing vocals, and Keith just kind of doesn't really, like, I don't know, because like he's not horrible, especially on this album version of it. He's not really that bad, but he just doesn't quite have the voice to like pull it off. The 10th track, Together by Harry Nilsson, is my favorite track on the album by a lot. It's really catchy, kind of beach sounding with these steel drums and stuff, and it's got this great like section in the middle where Keith and Ringo kind of go back and forth telling jokes and stuff, and it's just like really funny in a cheesy sort of way. So I've always really enjoyed that one. The bonus tracks on the CD version, there's a lot of like repeat songs, so there's a lot of stuff on here that I don't think is really that necessary. But there's some songs that didn't make the album, like Lies, I Don't Suppose, Hot Rod Queen, which are kind of fun. There's 3 tracks, Do Me Good, Real Emotion, and Naked Man, which I think might have been for like another album that he didn't finish. And those to me are kind of the highlight of the bonus tracks, especially Do Me Good. I think his vocals on all those sound a little bit better than they do on the actual album. And yeah, I think that those bonus tracks are what kind of makes this double album worth having. It's like the second disc of this is like all alternate takes, where his vocals are pretty like significantly worse than the album versions. So not something that I put on a whole lot. Keith Moon, Two Sides of the Moon. It's an album that, you know, when I got the CD copy back in 2009, like I said, I was kind of just a huge Keith Moon fan. I really wanted to hear what it sounded like, so I went on Amazon and got it. And I have a bunch of like memories of getting it and listening to it, playing Call of Duty World at War online. So it was one that like I listened to, not like a whole lot, but I did listen to it quite a bit, and I still like put it on every now and then. I think that it's not the greatest album of all time, but I do think that it's a pretty fun album if you go into it with the right like mindset. I think all the playing on it's really good and stuff, and clearly there was some like money and effort put into this album. And Keith, as a front man, he doesn't have the strongest voice. He tends to like wander off key, especially on the slower songs where it's more like, you know, kind of hinges on him giving a good vocal performance. But when he can be like over the top and funny and do his voices and accents and stuff like that, and you know, get like Ringo in and go back and forth and do those jokes and things like that, that's kind of where he really shines. And there's quite a bit of that on this album, and even some of the tracks where he just like sings, you know, like Teenage Idol and stuff like that, I think are really good. So I think Two Sides of the Moon is a much better album than people give it credit for. I don't think it's like a great album, but I do think it's a pretty good album. Like I said, when it's kind of approached with the right mindset and when you kind of know what you're expecting. So this is an album that, you know, I definitely recommend it for like fans of Keith Moon. I don't like anybody else that's just kind of morbidly curious and wants to hear something that's pretty funny and you know, it's kind of over the top ridiculous. Might want to check this out, but probably not for everyone, but still pretty good.